So desperate, out of the race, Andrew Yang decides to jump headfirst into a vat of his own stupidity by attacking the WWE over Twitter because Vince McMahon wants to shut down people using his intellectual property. So let's go through his Twitter thread, and then we're going to give some ideas and we're going to look up some things. Because guess what? WWE has been audited already for their misclassification of employees. Something that Jim Cornette and Meltzer and all these people keep talking about. John Oliver, Yang, everyone else. They've acted like people have not tried this before. This conversation has been going on for 40 fucking years. 40 years. Okay, but let's go through Andrew Yang's Twitter. If I'm not the Secretary of Labor, I'm pretty confident I'll have his or her number to talk about the ridiculous classification of WWE wrestlers as independent contractors while controlling their name and likeness for years, even for something as benign as Cameo. Come on, Vince. You've already deprived the folks of breaking their backs for you of health care, security, recovery time, retirement benefits, and fair treatment, RE, licenses and royalties. At least let them make a living off their own names. Many of them need it. I grew up a wrestling fan, and it's sad to see so many of my childhood heroes pass away early. I feel better knowing that they and their families were being fairly treated. I look forward to doing what I can for the next generation of performers. I know how tough it is. Vince, you better hope your old friend Donald wins, because change is in the air, and changes are long overdue where your corrupt labor practices are concerned. It will give me great pleasure. The people know. Okay, Andrew Yang. Again, this is a guy who ran on the UBI, basically a plan to give people free money that he claimed would not cause inflation, which of course is impossible. He claimed it wouldn't create an incentive not to work, which of course to create is impossible. that's impossible. But now he thinks that WWE is running corrupt labor practices because the dirt sheet said so, and because Alexa Bliss can't call herself Alexa Bliss when she charges $400 for cameos. So let's talk about this thing here. For starters, WWE's wrestlers have not been deprived of health care, security, recovery time, retirement benefits, etc. Just because WWE does not provide it does not mean they're deprived of it. Does not mean that they're deprived of it. Your childhood heroes like the Ultimate Warrior and British Bulldog, yes, I love those guys too. Those guys died because they did drugs. Okay? They were on painkillers. They were on cocaine. They did all sorts of drugs. So the point of this is he's upset about Donald Trump. He got Trump derangement syndrome. So it's because Vince McMahon is friends with Donald Trump. So Andrew Yang feels like he has to jump into this ring and basically back up everything that the dirt sheets have said and throw red meat to the socialist wrestling fans and all the idiots online. Guess what? Nothing will change. How do I know that? Because WWE has been audited before. 2010, September 14th, 2010, from the Stanford Advocate, WWE State Auditing Company for Misclassification of Employees. This was 10 years ago. Almost 10 years exactly. While U.S. Senate candidate Linda McMahon has been touting her business prowess, building and running Stanford-based World Wrestling Entertainment, the state has been auditing the company to determine if WWE cut costs by improperly using independent contractors in and out of the ring. As far as I know, all of the worker classifications have been correct, or if not, they were brought to WWE's attention. McMahon, who reigned as CEO from her family companies in September, she resigned, said Tuesday in New Haven, any kind of audit, a tax audit or whatever, if you made a mistake, you can change it, or it's a fine if you leave it. McMahon, who is financing her bid for the Senate, said she was unaware WWE was a target of the state audit, confirmed Tuesday morning in an email to Hearst, Connecticut newspapers by a company salesman. Federal and state officials have been cracking down on companies that misclassify regular employees as independent contractors, often to avoid paying Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment insurance taxes for those individuals. Although misclassification can happen inadvertently, it is often used to circumvent the law, reads a fact sheet from Connecticut's 2-year-old Joint Enforcement Commission on Employee Classification. In May, Republican Governor M. Jody Rell signed legislation that increases fines for misuse of independent contractors from $300 per incident to $300 a day, beginning October the 1st. It is now potentially a felony. In response to those who have criticized WWE for not offering its wrestlers health insurance, McMahon has argued the company's stars are independent contractors. But WWE also employs at any given time around 350 independent contractors behind the scenes, including models, photographers, and film unit publicists, a company official said in an earlier interview. Asked whether WWE has ever been the target of state or federal misclassification probes, spokesman Robert Zimmerman in an email Tuesday morning said WWE has always complied with the law. Up until this election, WWE has not been fined or investigated in the past for independent contractor classification. However, curiously, the state of Connecticut is currently conducting an audit on WWE's misclassification of independent contractors. WWE constantly reviews its internal practices and procedures to comply with ever-changing employee laws. The scope of the audit was not known at press time. Zimmerman did not provide further details. And spokesman for the Connecticut Departments of Labor and Revenue Services, the two agencies that would typically conduct such investigations, said they are prohibited from confirming or denying audit activity. Labor Department spokesman Paul Oates said the agency conducts hundreds of audits annually, and reviews of worker misclassification can be launched for a handful of reasons. It could be a complaint, might be through a random audit or somebody filing for unemployment benefits, he said. Asked if she was concerned about the timing of the audit during the Senate race, McMahon said Tuesday it might raise an eyebrow, maybe. The Joint Enforcement Commission on Employment Misclassification, reformed by REL and the state legislature in 2008, includes representatives from the Departments of Labor and Revenue Services, along with the chief state's attorney, the Workers' Compensation Commission, and Attorney General Richard Blumenthal, the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate and McMahon's opponent. In a report issued in February, the commission stated that employee worker misclassification may sound like a mere paperwork issue, but the act is a serious and significant problem that results in unfair treatment of workers, giving the guilty company an unfair competitive advantage while through artificially lower costs of doing business and quote-unquote means our law-abiding taxpayers bear more of a tax burden. Blumenthal's office Tuesday said it was not involved in any audit of WWE. According to state policy, the Attorney General's office would become involved should the Labor Department or another state entity determine the law had been violated. A trio of wrestlers, Christopher Klux-Artis, Scott Levy, and Michael Sanders, a few years ago, unsuccessfully sued the company in the U.S. District Court in Connecticut for defining them as independent contractors. Scott Levy is Raven. I don't know who Michael Sanders is. Christopher Klux-Artis. Let's look these guys up while I need to take a break from reading this shit anyway, because it's still more. There's still more to talk about. But let's look up who Michael these independent. I know Scott Levy is Raven. Let's look up who these other guys are. Let me talk. Good. Look, so they've been under investigation before. Oh, that's Chris Kanyon. Okay, so Christopher Klux-Artis is Christopher Kanyon, and Michael Sanders is who? I don't know who Michael Sanders is. Let's look up Michael Sanders. But one of them is Raven. So Raven sued WWE for misclassification, lost. So did Chris Kanyon, lost. And Michael Sanders is, I don't know. Let's see. Let's put WWE. Michael Sanders, WWE. Oh, it's an actual wrestler named Mike Sanders. Oh, okay. He's from WCW. Okay. I had no idea. I had no idea what some undercard WCW guy suing Vince McMahon. Okay. So they failed. Zimmerman said WWE takes good care of its talent. The average WWE performer earns more than $550,000 annually while only wrestling less than 3 days per week. Zimmerman said WWE covers 100% of all costs associated with any in-ring related injuries and rehabilitation. But Irv Mushnick, an independent journalist and author in California who has covered professional wrestling, has been a vocal critic of the McMahons and WWE, said in an email that the state audit was long overdue. With the financial success of the McMahon family reaching the point where it is now, underwriting a self-funded Senate campaign, while the public fallout of their corporation's occupational health and safety standards continue to go unaddressed by government, it is entirely appropriate to be taking a fresh look at all this. So this was 10 years ago. You probably didn't hear about this because for some reason, because nothing came out of it. Nothing came of it. What came out of this audit? What came out of this audit? Now, see, when Alvarez and Meltzer and all these guys are talking about WWE misclassifying their workers, right? Shouldn't they know that they were audited for this? Shouldn't they already know? They should already know, right? Which means that what they're talking about is just bullshit, right? So what came out of this audit? Let's go. May 26th, 2011. Connecticut fines WWE $7,316 after unemployment tax audit. $7,316. A state audit of World Wrestling Entertainment that was an issue in the hotly contested 2010 U.S. Senate race ultimately found the professional wrestling company owes about $7,000 in underpaid unemployment compensation, according to a WWE attorney. The confidential audit, which the state labor department would not confirm or deny, came to light during the Senate race when WWE CEO Linda McMahon ran as a Republican against then Democratic Attorney Governor Richard Blumenthal for a seat held by former U.S. Senator Christopher J. Dodd. McMahon campaign said it believed the investigation was politically motivated. WWE said it began in summer 2009 when McMahon began considering her candidacy. Blumenthal denied that his office was involved. In a letter to the State Department of Labor Field Audit Unit dated Monday and obtained Wednesday by the Associated Press, the lawyer said Stanford-based WWE does not agree with the findings reached by the agency, but she said the company has decided reluctantly to pay the assessment for 2008 and 2009 to afford further expenses. Given the small sums involved, that's the slap in the face, right? Given the small sums involved, compared against the cost of contesting your unilateral findings, WWE has determined it is most cost effective to simply pay the $7,316.64 assessment under protest, wrote attorney Mary A. Gambardella. WWE said it did not receive a fine or penalty as a result of the probe. Blumenthal, who won the Senate race, often referred to the probe during the campaign. He claimed it was an example of McMahon, quote, putting profits ahead of people at every turn. At the time, the audit was described as an investigation into whether WWE was misclassifying its quote-unquote talent, namely wrestlers, as independent contractors to avoid paying various benefits. The WWE's letter refers only to an audit concerning underpaid unemployment compensation. According to the letter, the audit also determined the WWE's payroll company overpaid on taxable payroll wages in both 2008 and 2009, creating a credit. WWE deferred with the state's decision for 5 employees to be considered talent when mostly appeared only sporadically. WWE also maintains the 23 people the state believes should be considered employees for purposes of unemployment compensation taxes were really temporary workers who no longer work for the company. 5 of them hold part-time jobs as blurrers, people hired to edit images in the WWE's film archives to delete old WWF logos. The company changed its name to WWE after a lawsuit filed with the World Wildlife Federation. As to whether Blumenthal was satisfied with the audit, his Senate spokeswoman, Kate Hansen, did not refer to WWE, specifically to the WWE case. Senator Blumenthal believes that misclassification of workers is a serious and pervasive offense that harms workers, taxpayers, and honest business, and that addressing the problem must go beyond focusing on any one business or industry to ensure employees receive proper wages and benefits, she said. Businesses, especially our small businesses, deserve a fair chance to compete. It's unknown what triggered the investigation. Carl Gazzardi, the Labor Department Unemployment Insurance Tax Director, could not comment on the case because of the state confidentiality statutes that prevent him from confirming or denying the existence of any investigation of any company. Gazzardi said that the department can randomly select a company for an audit, respond to public complaints, or receive a referral from the state's Joint Enforcement Commission on worker misclassification. Blumenthal was a member of that commission when he was state's attorney general. Various state and federal agencies, besides the Labor Department's unemployment unit, can conduct audits relating to misclassification. The Labor Department typically goes through a series of tests to determine whether an employee is truly a self-employed worker or a company employee. Employers are required to pay an unemployment tax. Rates range from 1.9% to 6.8% on the first $15,000 of an employee's earnings. For a company that pays 3%, An average rate, they pay $450 a year per worker, just already said. We want to make sure that workers that are providing services in Connecticut have access to unemployment insurance system if they're legally entitled to do so, he said. That's our primary focus here. So, while they already did a political hit job on Linda, nothing came of it. $7,000 in fines. $7,000. You would think that if they were trying to take down WWE, and look, how many times have they been sued? They've been sued 100 times for this, probably. I didn't even know about Chris Kanyon, Raven, and Mike Sanders suing WWE, saying that they were misclassified as independent contractors. I didn't even know that. I just found that out here. So guess what? Jim Cornette is wrong. John Oliver is wrong. Okay, Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, Andrew Yang, they're fucking wrong. You're an independent contractor. Okay, this is perfectly fucking legal. It is legal. I will put all three of the articles I read in the description so you can read them yourself. So what is this about? This is about unions, obviously, right? So, again, do I have to continue to go through unions? Why do people want Randy Orton to have health insurance so badly? Why do people want Roman Reigns to have health insurance so bad? Look, they already have health insurance that they pay for themselves. Okay, why is it so important that Vince McMahon pays it? Why is that so important? Right? The money that he could be spending on Roman Reigns and Jeff Hardy and all these guys, the top guys. Let's talk about the top guys. You know, Braun Strowman, The Fiend, all these guys. All the money he could be spending on them, he's spending it on the lower end of the Xia Lees, right? The Chelsea Greens, the Vanessa Bournes, the Humberto Carrillos, the Kalistos, all the lower card talent, the NXT talent, all of those people, they get jobs because there is no union. Now, what do I mean by that, right? You may say, what does that mean? How does a union stop people from getting hired? Because unions increase the cost of labor. That's what they do. Okay? All of these various things that these guys are talking about, providing health insurance and Social Security and all this shit, all of that needs to add up. And as you heard in one of these articles, they said it's per employee, right? So that means if WWE has 350 wrestlers and they have to pay, let's say, $400 per employee, that's 400 times 350. That's a lot of fucking money once you add it up over time. Now, you do have the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the wrestlers on the roster make most of the money as far as drawing potential. 80% just fill up the card. And I know that for some people that sounds ridiculous, but that's how it works in the real world. 20% of the people do most of the work. That's how it works in every single population. If you have a household, 80% of the people don't do anything in the house. Okay, now if there's only 2 people in the house, that's a little bit difficult. You know, that's different. There's only a population of 2. But if you have a family, and there's 5 people in the house, let's say a mom, a dad, and 3 kids, maybe the dad is the only one that works. And then that's where the 80-20 rule will step in, right? Because he's doing he's 20% of the household or whatever. He's doing most of the work, right? So the idea that WWE should be paying Randy Orton's health insurance rather than giving money to somebody, Riddick Moss or somebody like that, to train and get better at their craft is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Why is that? Why, for starters, why does the government get to make that decision? Shouldn't WWE make that decision? Shouldn't WWE make the decision to, well, we're going to give Randy Orton health insurance, or we're going to hire 5 or 6 different other performers to come in, learn their craft. They built this big fucking facility so that they can train people, to learn. They taking people from other industries, football players who can't play football anymore, dancers, models, all these different people, taking them, college athletes and high school athletes, bringing them to the performance center, training them, paying them to train, by the way. They're paid to be in the performance center. And then giving them contracts, giving them opportunities to make money. That's a bad thing. You're evil for doing that. Because oh my God, you're not giving them health insurance. You're not giving it to them. It's not the fact that they don't have it. See, he says some shit like they're being deprived of health insurance. How do you deprive somebody of something they can go out and buy? How are they deprived of that? How are they deprived of security? What does that even mean? They are deprived of recovery time? Recovery time? They wrestle once a fucking week, maybe twice. You know? And then of course if you had, like regular house shows, they work, 3 times, 4 times a week. Okay? This is ridiculous. This is all just socialist bullshit. It's socialist fucking bullshit. When you saw in California, what did they do? Uber, Lyft, all those companies, they complied with the fucking laws. The Uber drivers were the gig economy has been under attack a lot. Now nobody asked any of these wrestlers if they wanted to be independent contractors or whether they wanted to be employees, though, right? Nobody asked them, right? Because I'm pretty sure some of the more bitter ones like Ryback will pop up and say, "Oh, I think I should have been an employee." Again, we've tried that already. The contracts have not changed, But what the states will do, and this is what California did, is they would change the law, right? California, Uber and Lyft and all of these, the musicians and all these people who were perfectly following the law of California. California did decide to change the law so that the employee was pretty much anybody that you hire to do any job. And what you did is they killed the gig economy. So now Uber is like, we're out of here. We're leaving. We can't afford to run a business this way. This is an attack. For starters, it's an absolute assault on industry. It is anti-business. And then to try to couch it in pro-business or talk is bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. It is all political bullshit. It's all political. That's all it is. The reason why California went after Uber is because Uber was hurting the taxis. The taxi cab industry. The taxi cab industry is unionized. The taxi cab industry is unionized, and unions vote for fucking Democrats. So the fucking Democrats of California decided, oh my God, our friends in the unions are being hurt. We need to do something. So they changed the fucking law to hurt the companies who, hey, they had a choice. They could have just unionized, right? They wanted to increase the cost of Uber. Why? Because if you increase the cost of Uber, you kill Uber's competitive advantage, right? Now, in Detroit, where I live, right, Uber is cheaper than a taxi. It's also more efficient than a taxi. How do I know that? Because I'm a person that does not drive. So I am a person who, if I need to go somewhere, I take an Uber, right? I call an Uber. They're showing up 15 minutes at the most. You call a taxi. For starters, taxi wants you to pay up front. So, and this is, I remember when they first started doing this in Detroit. If you're in the inner part of the city, like if you're downtown, they didn't do this. This is how people started saying it was racist, right? When you were downtown and you were going from Fox Theater to your apartment complex and it's not that far, you didn't have to pay in advance. But if you were like me, staying in the inner part of the city and you wanted to go somewhere, they made you pay in advance. You had to pay down on it, right? They would say, well, you have to give us $5 before the car can start. And that's after the fucking cabs take fucking hour to show up, if they show up at all. On the weekends, like on a Friday or something, you can't catch a cab because they're all downtown. They were completely inefficient. Cabs fucking suck. But if you call an Uber driver, yeah, I mean, they start hit you with the surge on the weekends and stuff like that. They hit you with that surge cost. I understand that, but you're still going to get a Uber pretty fast. Cabs seem to be surging all the fucking time, and then they serve the small areas more often than the inner cities. So I would imagine it's the same everywhere. People wanted to use Uber because, for starters, it's a nicer car, and you're in a car of a private citizen. You're not in a cab with somebody who barely speaks English and all that type of stuff. You've already paid. You don't have to go through a lot of the hassle with taxi drivers and all that type of stuff. But it was just the evolution of the taxi. They didn't like that because the old taxi industry was fucking unionized. And it's the same thing in New York. Whenever you see big industries, you will typically see unions trying to get in. That's what they try to do. They try to get in because they want more money. But it didn't benefit the people at the bottom. It didn't benefit people like me who wanted to get somewhere. It didn't benefit me for the taxis to be unionized. It increased the cost of taxis. And it made them slower. Made them less efficient. The hustle wasn't there anymore. This is what happened in California. Because California was not happy with Uber. Uber just was making too much money. They had to do something. And that's the thing with WWE. They just make too much money. They make so much money, I have to complain. It's like, I don't understand why minding your own business has become illegal. Why is it illegal to mind your own fucking business? Why is it that we absolutely have to get involved with this? And then say, if I was WWE, I'd just sue Andrew Yang and call it a fucking day. Okay? Because this is, well, actually, it's a publicly traded company, so he can't sue him. You know, people, this is kind of what, they could send out a letter or something, some type of letter and saying, hey, we've been under audit before, all these sorts of things, and it's bullshit, back off, whatever. Because again, John Oliver tried this shit. Different people have tried this. It doesn't work. It never works. Will it ever work? If somebody changed the laws, and if you just ban the concept of independent contractors, maybe. But the idea that WWE does not have independent contractors is a fucking lie. It's a lie. Just because you don't like how they do it doesn't mean that it's unfair. Again, you can look at any independent contractor who utilizes somebody else's intellectual property. You don't get to own it. You don't get to go anywhere else with it. Okay? Just because somebody said this, and I think it was really pertinent when the letter came out. Somebody said, Robert Pattinson is Batman now, right? But Robert Pattinson can't show up anywhere as Batman. He doesn't own an intellectual property. Doesn't stop him from doing whatever he wants to do. He can't go do that. Okay? That's common sense. You don't own the Batman. Al Pacino just can't show up at a random movie and be like, I'm Michael Corleone. That's my name. That's the image I'm walking around with. It's like he doesn't own Michael Corleone. He didn't create it. He's just portraying it on screen. That's it. That's it. Okay? But the idea that there needs to be a union or that anything is being unfair. For starters, it's a slap in the face to all the performers, saying that you're not smart enough to figure this out yourself. That you're not smart enough to understand. As a matter of fact, I remember Dave Meltzer called them cowards before. If you're too cowardly to stand up for yourself, like, what the fuck are you talking about? People have tried this shit. How many times have they been sued over this? I just found out at least 4 times. I'm pretty sure Alberto Del Rio sued them too, over I think it was the non-compete clause in his contract. He sued him. And they just let him go and say, whatever, who cares? Who cares about this nigga? Let him go. It's like, just because you think Randy Orton wants to go work Ring of Honor and he can't, he probably doesn't want to. Did you ask him if he wanted to? Or are you making an assumption? Because that's what it seems like here. It seems like these people are making assumptions. Nobody is talking to any of these people. And then they wait until some of these people get bitter, and then all of a sudden they want to start saying shit. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. You don't show up every day. You work Mondays and Fridays, and then maybe a couple of other days as far as shows are concerned. You're not a fucking employee. Your every hour of every day is not dictated by the company. You have multiple days off per week. Well, especially now that they're not running any live events, you really have a lot of time on your hands. So where does Andrew Yang get these people? And it's the same thing with that Barsky asshole. What was his name? He just got Me Too'd. What was his name? He wanted to unionize wrestling. The guy with the goddamn mustache. You know, not Joey Ryan, the other one. Not I don't know what his name is, dog. His name is slipping my mind. I know his name is Max Barsky. But he was the asshole American that lived in England that was trying to unionize wrestling. It was a big fail. It's not going to work. You have to, for starters, there's a lot of people who don't want to be in it. Like when Jesse Ventura tried to create this union in the 80s, right? There was a lot of people who didn't want to be in it. Hulk Hogan didn't want to be in it. He knew that it would kill the business. Cody Rhodes, when the AEW started, he said he didn't want a fucking union. It would kill the business. Whenever you talk to people who actually understand the fucking business, they tell you they don't want a fucking union. There, occasionally you will come across somebody who wants one, but they're sitting at fucking home. They just want the opportunity to take advantage of people who they feel fucked them over, even when really they just fucked themselves over. Ryback also thinks everybody should get paid the same amount of money, regardless of how you draw. He's a fucking idiot. Okay? Andrew Yang, John Oliver, and everyone else. If you want to change the laws, feel free to change the laws. And they'll just comply. But they're not employees. WWE is telling them what they can do with their likenesses and intellectual property, which the WWE owns, which the lawyers of the talent have already gone through, found out were in compliance, and done all this stuff. It's already been done. People have already tried this. This is a dead horse. This is the deadest fucking horse there is. Now, just because some stupid ass fucking wrestling journalists at No DQ or fucking Dave fucking Meltzer thinks that it's a misclassification because in his brain it's not the same thing. None of these fucking people are lawyers. None of these fucking people even run big businesses. How many people did Dave Meltzer hire? Or is he still using unpaid talent that sit in the crowd and send him emails? Does he pay these people? I don't think so. So it's stupid. This is stupid. It's the stupidest shit in the world. All right, man. I'll talk to y'all guys later.